Thank you. What else can I say? I rather shied away from doing anything that would look like a trick, you know. And I think once the audience accepts the fact that I'm blind, even if I'm not, which they know I'm not, I hope the illusion will carry them through the picture, you know. I bruise rather easily, and I must say in this picture I did not, I mean, a blind person is always very familiar with their surroundings which they live in, and that's not how I got bruised, but at one point there's been all kind of turmoil in the apartment, and the furniture's gotten thrown around, so everything is strewn all over the place and in unusual places. Therefore I don't know where chairs are, and overturned tables, and I go flying around and actually did get a bit bruised up. But I found that putting ice on bruises is remarkable. It makes them disappear right away, which I've never known. Icy cold ice is very good. And he's the fourth. Yes, and he's a darling man too, and I'm delighted he played my husband, because he's the kind of man I'd be delighted to be married to. Dick is just a very unusual and I think very rare human being, because he really has such a marvelous spirit, is so funny without performing, you know. He just has a great innate sense of humor and has kept us all in gales of laughter just by being himself and by seeing everything from a funny point of view, which has also been a great release. Rather gloomy otherwise. It's been a rather tense piece, to say the least. And Dick has just been a tonic, and I must say everybody's madly in love with him. I know what that came from, is that I retire every 18 months. I have retired always. That is to say that I really do stop working, and I don't sort of do other little things, or a television show in between, or publicity or things like that. I go home, and I'm home, and I stay with my family, and this time I'm more than usually tired, because it's just been a long period of work and other things and traveling and I don't know what all. And so I'm going home, and I'm not going to think about work for quite a while. He's so knowledgeable and does it with seeming great ease, and is terribly kind to everybody, and he has such a complex and difficult and endless job. But he's so bright about it, and also very funny, don't you think? Thank you. You made it very easy and very pleasant.
Well, that's the point of the story, actually. That's um, I imagine the reason that I'm in this picture is the three so-called criminals in Wait Until Dark, who are attempting um, to find a doll in the apartment of a blind woman played by Audrey Hepburn, are charming. Really, Mike Tallman, my character, is a charming confidence man. It's a man who lives by his wits and his charm. So he is evil, but he uses his good nature and charm to fool his victims. So I think it is the first time on film that I've played anything like this. In radio, of course, in those days when we were not typed by appearance, I played many heavies, but certainly not since I've been in television or in pictures. Well, we have a lot of fun on the set, I must say. In a picture such as this, Audrey has a very, very difficult part. It requires an immense amount of concentration to play a blind woman, as she does. Any distraction, I don't think we realize how much we use our eyes. Any distraction causes an eye movement on the part of a person with normal vision. But in a blind woman, Audrey has the problem of conveying emotions without reacting with her eyes, and that's a tremendous challenge for an actress. So she's under a constant tension on the set. The story is very suspenseful, and she's using this intense concentration rather than any apparatus of any kind to aid her. And combination of the script itself and the suspense in the script and the as I said, the tension of her performance it puts her under terrific strain. So we break the tension between takes by clowning and kidding around, and fortunately she enjoys that. She is an actress of immense talent and is very able to very quickly get back into character and very quickly to get back into the story. Her preparation is done, I can imagine, from having worked with her weeks in advance of her appearing on the stage. I enjoy working with a good director, and I've been blessed. I've worked with some very fine directors, and of course I'm particularly fond of Terence Young, who's directing this picture. He's a remarkable director, I think. He's a combination of things that we don't find all too often. He is a very skillful mechanic in that he knows what he's doing with the camera, but not only that, he has a wonderful communication with the actors. He is very articulate, and you always know what he wants. You know, we may not be able to get it for him, but he certainly knows how to point us in the right direction. He is the one evil one of the three criminals. He is the completely evil man of the group, and he plays three different parts and plays them all very well, I must say. And I think this is going to be a very exciting picture. I'm waiting to see it all put together myself. It's spine-tingling. And Jack Weston plays the other heavy, and Jack is the kind of a fellow, you know, we always say the story, look out for him when he gets mad, you know, the fat, jolly guy who gets mad. I think we all have an image of that man as the most evil of all, because he's capable of even greater evil than the obvious, more obvious type. But Jack is doing a wonderful job, too. It's a lovely cast. Thank you so much.
Hello there. How are you? Well, there were a lot of reasons. The first being that I was extremely flattered to be offered a script that was such a tremendous departure from The Russians Are Coming. Number one. Number two, it was a villain, which I've never played in my life, and it's been a dream since I was about 5, and decided I want to be an actor, that someday maybe I could play a bad guy, just once anyway in a movie. And I wasn't sure I could bring it off, but this, doing something serious and evil, was something I was very insecure about, and being insecure about it, I decided I had to do it. And I'm scaring myself in this thing. I'm afraid to go home alone. They're not 3 characters, really. There's only one character, but this one character plays 2 other characters. And one of the characters he plays is a real extension of him. You can see that it's him playing this other character. And the other one, I thought it would be interesting to make a real departure, make him as sweet as possible, and to really twist everybody's mind around. Yeah, well, no, they're for many reasons. They're, first of all, because the character I'm playing is very perverse, and does this as much for his own enjoyment as anything else. And second of all, because it means less outcome of money, since they can have less people in the gang if this guy can play a half a dozen people himself. No, I started out as an actor, but I couldn't get any work as an actor, so I became a musician in order to employ myself. And I played guitar and I played flute and wrote many, many songs. I have about 150 published songs in the folk genre, generally. And everything I did, though, was really a buffer between acting jobs. I became a part-time photographer, and I taught music, I taught guitar, and I was in the hospital once with hepatitis, and I wrote a couple of short stories which got published. But my main goal has always been film. That's the thing I've always been most interested in, and I'm most happy in. So that I do less now, and I question why I'm doing less, and it's really because I don't have the terror of not being able to work next week in the field that I really want to be in. The main difficulty for me has been that I feel a kind of pressure on me that I have to be good now, whereas before acting was just fun. I did it because I loved it, and now I get kind of it's not as bad as it was, but I do have a slight pressure on that they're watching me, and I have to be good this time, and I can't have as much fun as I used to. So I'm fighting it as best I can and doing a pretty good job on it. Trying to remember why I went into the business to begin with, and the joy I used to get out of it, and trying to recapture not the way of working, because your way of working always changes, but the impulse for doing it. Not at all. I found that I've been able to work very improvisatorily, that my best work in The Russians are coming, and I think my best work in this film, it's too early to say what's really my best, but the stuff that's most comfortable has been stuff where we sit around and kick around an idea and change the lines and say, let's try it this way, and I think it's the most creative way of working, and I hope I can continue to work that way. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, greetings, greetings. It's a good old-fashioned melodrama. Well, Audrey has a very challenging, a very demanding, and for her an extremely delicate part. She plays a blind girl, but she plays a blind girl very untheatrically, and that's the way she conceived of the part and the way she's trying to play it, and naturally she's been under great stress about it and hoped that she was going to do it in a way which would not offend anyone or make anyone feel that she had failed. And we had great good fortune. We've met some blind people who have become our friends and our guides and our counselors, and I think Audrey has gained more from talking with them and from learning their own approach to life, the way they see life, and they literally do see life. That has been what's, I think, governed her approach to the role and her feeling about the whole picture. And it's been to me, a rather emotional experience to just be there as a bystander observing when some of our friends have come with us to where we're working and have explained how they would approach the problems that we've had to face in this story. So Alan Arkin plays three characters. He plays a 72-year-old man, and he plays that man's son, who's a rather henpecked, repressed, inhibited man of approximately 50 years old. And then he plays the very sinister character of Rote, R-O-A-T. Rote is our arch villain, our real meanie in this story. It's a tour de force, and he's playing it in a most, if you want to use the term way out in that respect, you certainly can, because he's a very contemporary performer. As you know, he played in all kinds of living theater experiments in the East when he first started, in which you improvise performances and plays every night, and every night it's different. So he has great resource. The play itself really is the thing. Again, in this case, as in every good film, a good play, your material, the written word, is what counts more than the performances. And Frederick Knott has written a really tight, rather harrowing, and an audience piece. The audience screams every time I've seen the play. Thank you ever so much, and Wait Until Dark will not prove a disappointment to any of you who happen to see it.
How are you? Let me see, I guess it is, yes. Yes, it is, that's right. I didn't do anything last summer. Yeah, just about 2 years. Well, I tell you, that's the ne plus ultra of filmed marital bliss. She's a darling. She's a sweet, lovely person. Besides being a rare, rare talent, you know. Such a really great actress, I think. You know, it's quite the opposite. It's a relationship in which the husband forces her to live as normal a life as she possibly can, and to do all the things for herself that are possible to do. As you know, what's called camera cutting, where the director takes only as much in each particular, from each particular angle as he wants to use. And we do this to a certain degree on the FBI too. I think all directors do that, mainly because it gives them an added control over the picture, because it enables them to guide the cutting to a certain degree, which is a good thing. It is indeed. In fact, my feeling coming on this picture is that they shoot almost as quickly as we do. In certain scenes, they shoot more quickly than we do. But I like this way of shooting. I like to shoot quickly. I hate wasting time and sitting around endlessly on a set, particularly after you've become geared to television work. You like to work fast. No, my scenes are only with Audrey. I had a little exterior thing in New York with Samantha Jones, who's an actress that plays in the beginning of the picture. But that was simply an exterior shot, but my scenes are just with Audrey. No, I never did. I studied as a child, not to be a musician, but simply, you know, because my parents felt that's part of any child's education, so I studied the violin and the piano and later a little voice, but I've never had any idea of being a musician. It's a company beyond belief to work on this. It's one of the happiest companies I've ever known, probably the happiest. Always a pleasure. Thank you. Isn't it awful? Isn't it really terrible to have to be faced with that, get hissed and booed? I was a con man who was caught in bribery and a lot of shady deals. Well, Terence has been marvelous because he just lets us go, you know. He trusts us that we're good actors, and he hired us for that reason. And he feels that we're going to know, and he points us in the right direction. And it's a great rapport we all have, which is marvelous. Because I guess he cuts as he goes along. Hitchcock does that, a lot of directors, and it's really marvelous. He knows in his mind what he wants. So he's cutting the picture, in effect, and there's no excess garbage, really. There's shots that they're going to throw away. They probably will use almost everything. Oh, I never did. I don't poo-poo it. I think if it works for some people, it's marvelous, but I'm a technical actor. I really am. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I work by technique. I work by instinct. I feel that one's emotions should be kept in one's private life, you know, that when you're out on stage or wherever, it has to be, you have to become theatrical. I think there's such a thing as suddenly becoming an actor and an aura, you know. There's things like star quality. Even Marlon Brando, as much as a method actor he is, he's still terribly technical, and he is a star, and people love him because he's Brando, you know. He's stamped with it. And too many so-called method actors that I know are so within, you know, that they're almost dull. But it works for them. It's marvelous, you know. What I do is just come almost unprepared, except knowing what the skeleton is, because the director may have ideas of his own. And if I come fully prepared, then it's almost immovable. I like to play it by ear. I like to see what the other people are going to do, and then there's a lot of time to learn the words. You know, sit around, and I like to roll with the punch, so to speak. I think the best thing is to see who's going to do what. You know, and let him tell you. And even lines, sometimes you can learn them and they say, my God, we've cut out 7 paragraphs, you know, and then you're dead. And you're climbing walls, and why did I bother to learn that? Sure, I hope it's going to be as scary as we hope it is, because it's great fun. We're having great fun.
Thank you very much. And I can only say that when I got the script of Wait Until Dark, I'd already seen the play, and in fact, coincidentally, I'd read the review in Time magazine before I ever was approached to do the film, and I thought what a hell of a good movie it would eventually make. I read the play, liked it very much, went and saw it, read the script. But quite frankly, I don't think I'd have cared about any of those things, because when I knew that Audrey Hepburn was going to do the film, I don't think she ever makes a bad film, and so I think I'd have taken the well-known cliche, I'd have probably taken the telephone director if I'd known Audrey was going to appear in it. Two of the three, they're not really hoods, you know, they're not hoodlums in the accepted sense of the word. Two of them are con men, and will be brought into this plan because of their abilities as con men. The third man is somebody who is fundamentally not just slightly evil, he is immensely, terribly evil, frighteningly evil. And this is the part that Alan Arkin plays. It's going to be quite a change from his appearance in The Russians Are Coming, you know. But in many ways it's the basic petrified forest situation, killers in the house of an innocent bystander, and in this particular case she happens to be trapped in her own house in Greenwich Village, and worst of all, she happens to be blind. We were, well, as you know, we shot the locations in New York, in Greenwich Village, the exterior of this house, and the actual house that I've been shooting in for this last 10 weeks in the studio, the basement apartment, was taken in scale practically from one of those houses in the village. And as you say, it's very close quarters. We've nearly, I'd say, 80%, 90% of the film takes place inside this apartment. We've tried to keep it like that. In the first script we wrote, we had a lot more exteriors. We kept going away from the apartment, and in the end we defeated our own object because you lost whatever claustrophobic effect there was. You lost any feeling of the girl being trapped, because it was so darned easy to get out of the house. You said, well, why can't she do it, you know? There is a great deal of physical action in the film. I don't mean people, you know, herds of cowboys running through and, you know, on horses running like that, but there is a great deal of physical movement. The story itself progresses awfully well. It's a terribly well plotted story. This little thing is let drop in on page 5, and on page 10 you see why they said that, because something happens. And I think it fascinates an audience to see how these people go to work on this blind girl. They're trying to get something she has. She actually doesn't know it's there. She doesn't know anything about it. And bit by bit they are building up a case so that if in fact she can find the doll, she will give it to them, because it's something she doesn't want to have on the premises, because it's now a very compromising piece of evidence against her husband. That is the plot, and it's diabolically well written in the play and in the film. Well, the way I shoot a picture is it's already halfway to being cut, because you edit it in the camera. I shoot the little bits of film that I know I want to use for a particular sequence. Sometimes, quite obviously, you shoot a lot more than you're going to need, but basically I try and shoot as little as I want, because I have a firm conviction that there is one place for the camera, there's one piece of acting for each little segment of film, and that is the bit that you have to get for this piece of the story. And I've always tried to do it like that. I don't say it's been as easy to do it in the Bond films, because very often there was material missing, because I had to go and shoot some more underwater stuff or whatever it was that hadn't arrived at the time, or that I would have to go back to another location or something like that. But this one, it's been comparatively straightforward, because we have shot the film in sequence, which is very rare. Not at all, thank you.